This example explores collecting user inputs via the HTTP GET method using HTML forms. HTML forms are a standardized way to collect user inputs. In this example, if the client requests the root of our web page, they are served a document form.html. This document contains a form tag, which is a mechanism to collect user inputs to be processed by a server. The action attribute specifies where the collected data will be sent to. In this example, we are sending it to the endpoint print, which gets caught by our second statement. The method specifies the HTTP method in which the browser will submit the form. There are two possible values, get and post. When using the get method, the data is embedded inside of the URL. When using the post method, the data is embedded inside the body of the message instead. Inside the form, we have pairs of label inputs. The input elements are the containers for the data, while the labels describe each input expected. Upon submission of the form, the values inside of each input element that have a name attribute are submitted to the URL specified by the action, indexed by the name property. In this example, two pieces of data, name and date of birth, are sent when the user clicks on the submit button. The type attribute specifies the input type that the browser should render. Text represents text box, and date represents a calendar picker. This form is submitted to the user when they visit the root of the page. When they hit the submit button, the results are sent over to the second endpoint print. Because the data is embedded inside of the URL, we cannot use a strict match like we did for the root of our website, and instead we'll use the method starts with to route the traffic. The embedded data is inside the URL. We can use a built-in package URL to parse each component. This method URL.parse takes in as its first parameter a URL and breaks it up into its component pieces like protocol, hostname, port, query string, or fragment. These are all typically represented strings, but the second parameter, if set to be true, will take the query string data and send it through the queryString.parse method to convert it into an object. We set it to be true because that is the only component that we are interested in. We now have an object user input composed of two properties, name and date of birth. The next line creates a new date representing today's date using the default constructor. The line after that creates a new date using the user's applied date of birth. The line after that calculates a variable days old using a simple formula. Finally, we use res.end to send the response back and terminate the connection. Let's see this run. Our program is now running on port 3000. And we will navigate to the root of our website. If we look at the URL, we can see that it contains the embedded data. And on the server, we receive the same request.